The United Nations estimates that more than 500,000 people have fled the Ukraine as the conflict in the country continues. The South African students are among those trying to escape the violence, but the road to safety seems to be daunting, with reports of discrimination and resistance from Ukrainian border officials. Expats SA has been assisting those struggling to leave the Ukraine. Let's speak to the organization's Lebone Kganyago, who will be giving us a sense of how things are going. Lebone, thank you so much for your time this evening. What is the latest in terms of moving the students to safety?
Well, I can confirm that the students who have arrived in Hungary and in Poland have been receiving some assistance, and majority of them managed to cross over and make contact with a number of the volunteers. We also have heard that there are students who have managed to go to the South African embassy in Hungary just to, get relevant papers and to get more assistance from them.
Now, there was a situation over the weekend where we saw some reports, of course, from Africans, not only just students from South Africa, talking about the difficulties that they are experiencing at the border, particularly from some Poland officials, saying that they were not being allowed. And we saw even some video footage to that particular effect. I wonder if that particular situation has improved somewhat.
Well, just based on the experiences that some of the South Africans we've made contact with, they did say that they also experienced something like that. For instance, a group that was making their way to Hungary wanted to get on a train, the first train, a free train. However, they were stopped and told that only Ukrainians can get on the train. And unfortunately, they had to wait hours on end to get a second train to travel over to Hungary.
Now, let's talk about some of those that you've been able to assist. I'll get to those, situations in just a moment. Now, when some of them talk about, this journey, they say, of course, it's a lengthy journey. They're walking, others are able to get the train, but they're struggling with accommodation. Have you been able to resolve some of the accommodation issues?
Oh, yes, definitely 100%. On about At three borders, Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary, there are volunteers who are working tirelessly to make sure that our fellow South Africans get accommodation, especially those crossing over to Hungary, because there are quite a number of them. However, accommodation is being sorted right now by the number of volunteers that side.
Is it just students?
No, it's not just students. There are non-students as well. For example, yesterday we received confirmation that there is an elderly gentleman who was able to get assistance from one of our volunteers in Poland, and he's actually on his way back to South Africa.
Let's talk about the racial undertones. It's something that you and I have just alluded to in this conversation. One of the things that, we keep seeing are some of the videos that are circulating. There's even one student from Nigeria, for example, who says that, for example, they said to her, if you're black, you should walk. And she is obviously documenting her journey. But another thing that has been of concern here is that while they continue to experience this kind of treatment, there's also the bitter cold that they've now been exposed to. And some of them are saying that they're starting to get sick. I wonder if, the experience on the ground, have you had to deal with some of those that you may have had to transport to hospitals?
Well, not as yet that I have, received any confirmation. I haven't heard of any student who's needed to get to hospital per se. However, there have been students who have gotten injured. I was speaking to one student a few hours ago who was telling me that her legs are very, very painful, at most because of the cold and at most, because of walking. But to the extent of going to the hospital, not yet.
And how many students are we talking here, and what are they studying?
Oh, wow. The number keeps on increasing every day, so I can't give you an exact number. However, yesterday, because there is a group that we are in, a number of us, I heard about 30 30 to 60 students so far, but then that is at different borders, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, just all combined. So I think they just keep on increasing every day.
Coming from the situation at which they're trying to escape and finding themselves having to deal with border officials who are even exerting further trauma upon them. At the same time, they not even, they still have to deal with adverse weather conditions. I wonder how much of an impact has this had on them at a personal level?
It's actually a very traumatic experience, if I may say, just based on the testimonials themselves. One student who actually had to end up traveling with a fellow African, but the people she's traveling with are both from Nigeria and Cameroon. And just based on their testimonials, they're saying this is very, traumatic. It's a very traumatic experience. It's a very tiring experience. And she also just asked, why is it that this is happening to them? So how do you answer such a question? You really, it's very difficult when you're not directly affected by this crisis.
And do you think enough is being done, though, to deal with that, humanitarian crisis that is currently unfolding? Because racism surely cannot even be accepted in any instance at all.
That's the thing about racism. You can't even fish it out. It will always expose itself. So I think everybody across the globe, South Africans across the globe, Africans across the globe, we are just trying our very best to unite in the best way possible, to volunteer where possible, and just to assist in our best capacity, because that's all we can do for now, and just ensure that our fellow South Africans, fellow Africans just get to safety, if possible, return home.
As a final question then, Lebone, how many students or even experts would you say that you are still, trying to assist that are outstanding from crossing the border and also getting some kind of assistance with accommodation?
Hence, I said in the beginning, unfortunately, I can't give you a direct or an accurate answer of how many students there are, because we get different inquiries, different updates on a daily basis. I can get 2 calls today from students. I can get 5 calls today from students. And I can also just get updates from fellow volunteers at different borders. So giving you an accurate answer, I would be wrong for doing that.
And just as a final question in 10 seconds, have the embassies themselves been receptive to be able to assist?
100%. I am also in communication with the South African embassy in Hungary. We have a group, like I explained in the beginning. We give them updates. They also give us updates. They ask us for any lists that we may have of students, and obviously just we mediate between students and the embassy where necessary. So they are definitely being as active as they can. And they do respond to emails. They are active on Twitter as well. They are engaging right now.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Lebone, and really some important work that your organization is doing there, especially at a time like this. Thank you so much for that.